Hope I don't have any technical problems tonight. I'm going to wait for at least one person so they can let me know if they can hear me okay. That will be the first thing. Hi, hey Renee. Just a little quick sound check. Can you all hear me okay? I had a snafu yesterday when trying to use YouTube. Just want to make sure that today that's not an issue. Can you guys hear me? Give people a little more time to get in here. Hey September, can you hear me okay? I'm trying to get at least one person to confirm they can hear me, because I had a snafu last night trying to use YouTube. The sound quality was terrible. Hi Ron, Gregory, Renee, and Carletta. No one's confirmed they can hear yet. Oh, yep. Thanks, September. Okay, she confirmed. All right. I'm going to go ahead and get started, because, of course, whoever misses anything can always look at it again. And what I'm doing is I'm recording this with my phone and my laptop. I'll upload the video to YouTube, and that way it'll be the best of both worlds. Because a lot of people, they prefer the Facebook platform because it's easier, apparently, to do the interacting and everything. But let me go ahead and get right into this. So you all know that every topic that I do so far has been inspired by an audience request, or a friend or associate, someone requesting either certain information, certain topics. I had a conversation with someone yesterday, and I was trying to decide, which topic I should do next. And I'm all about trying to hurry up and get to the point. I'm considering that people actually want to know the quickest way to get to the coin. Okay, so I respect that, and that's what I wanted to do. But the person made a good point. A lot of the people are not in the mindset to thrive and flourish in business, and so that's part of why they're having difficulty. So tonight's topic is going to be get your mind right first, then get the money. Okay, because I was watching a Dr. Boyce Watkins video. I definitely want to give him some credit, because I've been watching a lot of his videos, and so although I have my own independent thoughts, it happens to be that I see a lot of things in a similar way that he sees things. And so I watch a lot of his things, and he said something today that he had heard a statistic that 92% of people who set goals do not accomplish their goals. 92. At first I thought it was the reverse, but I was like, wait a minute. 92% of people who set out to accomplish a goal, they don't accomplish their goal. Now, of course, statistics gets a little weird and everything, but I think I believe it, because based on what I've seen employing people over the past 13 years, and being in school, and just encountering people and then studying people, I think I can believe it. And because business is all about goal setting and goal achievement, then I can understand why more people are not in business, because if they're not able to figure out how to get to their goals, then business would be impossible. And so I think that there are reasons why this number is so high. And what I came up with was the 3 Ds, basically. 3 Ds: distractions, damage, and deficits. That's how I'm referring to it. And I'm going to use this evening to go over what I mean by these things. And a lot of it's based on my own personal experience, failures, and successes, and also people that I know, as well as backed by research about the brain and just studying psychology and neuropsych. Okay, so first, distractions. We are so easily distracted, and it's so difficult. It's getting increasingly difficult because of social media and just all the cool things there are to do. So you have some distractions that are about pleasure. So, but I've broken it down into some general categories that can be distractions. That's people, places, things, and energy, really. But energy is going to fall into another category. But people's, places, and things can serve as distractions. Now, for people, when you're trying to set out to accomplish something, people can be your greatest asset, or they can be a real hindrance, okay? And it just depends on how you deal with them and where they are in life. And so a lot of times, as much as I love people, I mean, we've all seen and met some extremely toxic people. I have gone through phases where I have been extremely toxic, and I feel bad for, like, I look back and I feel bad for the people who cared for me, because I know I was a burden. And so and being toxic is not necessarily intentional. Some people just have a lot of stuff with them, and for good reasons, whatever reasons, people have stuff with them. You also have people that do intentionally try to sabotage, which is also falling under toxic. But people can be very exhausting. Another way that people can be a distraction, I was guilty of doing this to one of my best friends not long ago. I was so excited for her on her journey for things that she's working on, that I got excited, and I just kept texting her with, like, more ideas and everything. And she was like, wait a minute, wait. Okay, I don't want to get overwhelmed, because then I will feel discouraged and give up. And I was like, okay, good point. So even if you're surrounded by a lot of people have a lot of opinions, people have a lot of ideas, and it can become confusing when you are dealing with a lot of people while you're trying to set a goal. And so, the people could be a partner, family, friends, even children can be a distraction. Over involvement with children, there is a such thing as over involvement. Children that were unplanned. And when I say distraction, I'm not really trying to say burden, but what I'm saying is anything that would derail you or get you off track from your goal. And so naturally, we talked about being a boss and a parent. So of course it can be a distraction, especially if you have a lot of children. So that's one thing. And then colleagues and associates who you come into frequent contact with, they certainly can be a distraction. Simply just being in the office dynamic and hearing the way people carry on, or if you're like in a school setting and there's something going on and there's like this vibe or this energy, it can be, even though you might not be choosing to be around these people, it's a choice because you chose that job. But because you chose the job, these are the people that you have to be around, and you can't, change that. And so the energy of those people can be a distraction, especially colleagues, because a lot of times if you're like working a job and you start getting a notion to go into business for yourself and you start sharing that with other people, if they don't understand the mindset, they can have the best of intentions, but they can derail you. they can scare you. They can make you feel insecure about, well, maybe I'm tripping. Maybe I shouldn't be, moving in this direction. Because when you're on that line and you're trying to cross over, it can be very scary, and you do second guess yourself at times. In order to jump in, you have to have a certain level of confidence, and to make it work, you have to have a level of confidence. So you really cannot afford other people's doubt and things like that. So be careful about colleagues, because if they're a colleague, chances are that means they're an employee, and that means they may have an employee frame of mind, and you may be trying to shift from an employee. You might be trying to boss up and move from employee to being a boss. And so be careful with that. That's the people category. One other thing I want to address is partners. It's so important, because typically your partner, if all things are going well, your partner is the person you probably spend the most time with, or who is like close to your best friend, if not your best friend. And so a lot of times we have to be careful about this ride or die attitude that people have, thinking that that's what you have to do to be a good partner. Um, if you have a partner that is not on track, then you can't ride with them. You damn sure shouldn't die for them. So I would love it if we could start to consider eliminating the ride or die concept as if it's something to be promoted. Because I'm not riding with anybody anywhere if they're taking me off a cliff, and I'm definitely not dying for anybody. So distractions, basically, when you feel this commitment to a person that you are willing to sacrifice your own dreams, your own goals, or you're going to hang in here with this person who's bringing you down because you ride or die, because you feel like that's what you need to do. That can be a big deterrent. Okay, so the next category of distractions are places. Okay, and that is, where are you spending your time? And where are you in physical proximity to things? You know, what places do you frequent? Are you a person who hangs out at the library? Are you on campus? Are you in a club often? Where are you? Are you with your children at like out and running around? Where are you physically? Because that can be a distraction. If you're really trying to focus on something, you have to be careful where you are. You know, if you're in business mode, you're trying to boss up, chances are, unless you're like kind of just meeting friends because you haven't seen them in a while, chances are you're not really going to be at the bar. You're not going to be doing happy hour too much. I mean, you're kind of going to honestly be a little alienated. You're going to be isolated when you're going hard to build a business in those stages. And so consider like where you are, because those things can exhaust you too. And you can also really absorb a lot of energy when you're in places that are not conducive to getting in a zone. All right, so the next thing is, another thing about places. I have a note to myself: don't be disillusioned. Depending on what community you grew up in, it's a mindset sometimes that is so insidious and it's so subtle that you don't even really realize that it's even a thing. But the community that you grow up in is very influential to how you think and how you operate. So some people don't have a choice as to where they grew up, obviously. But at some point, you may be trying to either get out of the area that you're in for whatever reason, but you don't be disillusioned. Make sure you get out in the world. Make sure that you actually go places that you don't typically go. See the world. See the world. If you can't see the world across the continent, at least go to another county. At least go to another city. Go to an area where everyone doesn't look like you, and just observe. Take in the experience. Because if you don't do that, that can be a distraction. Because if you're surrounded by people who are all kind of doing the same thing and living the same way, you might have this false sense of security or contentment when really there's a lot more out there that you would want if you knew it was out there. So you're disillusioned. You have like a unclear picture of what the situation really is. The other distraction, things. And the things really, most of the ones I've jotted down are compulsions, which are like addictions or compulsive behavior of some sort. So a big distraction, and I'm not going to say especially for the fellas because it might be more for women, and I'll tell you why. But sex can be a distraction, because anything that brings pleasure makes you want to do it again and again, and it can become a compulsion, especially if it's filling some type of void. And so if you're, I know that like in the case of men, sex can be a distraction because how they're built, it's natural for them to have a desire. I mean, just the testosterone that they have, and just being a mammal, a male mammal, they're, I'm sure it's hard for them. I'm sure it's hard for them. And so when you go out there and you're sleeping with people and you're having sex, I mean, it can really be a distraction. It can really have you messing up your situation or not thinking clearly or just getting off track. And I know men know that they do this. I mean, I know they sometimes probably wonder why they do certain things they do and just like, oh, but the babies that come from it, that like child support and things like that, although the concept of child support is a good concept, sometimes the way that it plays out legally is crazy. And it is not always in the man's favor or the woman's favor. And so sex, you have to be careful like who you're sleeping with. Women, I feel like sex might be a bigger distractor than for men, because when women have sex, their oxytocin is released. I mean, men have some of that too, but women have more of this chemical. And this is a chemical that when you're like, after you have a baby, this is the chemical that is required to be produced in order for your milk, your breast milk, to come out. And so it's a feeling of you have to be, it's like it helps you feel bonded and warm and fuzzy and like you want to nurture and be close, right? Because that's what's associated with it. And so that is released also when you're having sex. And that can make a woman really have a false sense of love, and this because love can also, they've discovered that when people feel like they are experiencing love, it's different parts of the brain that light up that are indicative of the pleasure center being activated. So women in the sex thing, it can be a distraction because it can keep you out there in the streets in pursuit of it, or even connected to like one person that may not be good for you. So let's watch out for the sex thing. Drugs, and this includes alcohol because alcohol is a drug. I think I don't even have to go into a lot of detail about why drugs and alcohol are a distraction, but for just in case people need the clarity, they're mind altering substances, and while they may have some benefits in certain areas, it's changing cognitive processes in the brain. It's disrupting certain processes. It's messing up the circuitry and the electricity in the brain. It's like the firing of the neurons, that action potential. It goes slower. It goes slower oftentimes, or it may not go at all. And so as much as people want to believe that they're at their best when they're high or drunk, you're not. I'm here to tell you, you're not at your best. Depending on how you're built psychologically and whatever your reasons are for compulsively drinking and using drugs, you might actually perform better when you've taken that pain away, because now if you take the band-aid away, you're going to have this pain you're dealing with, which can be equally debilitating. if not more debilitating. So some people have this idea that they do better when they're using drugs and alcohol because they know how they would feel without it. And some people can't live with themselves or cope without it. But it's a huge distraction because to be able to do well in business, you need executive functioning skills. And that's something that is frontal lobe related. And executive functioning is the ability to plan, strategize, and execute things to get to a goal. And that's what we're talking about. Why do 92% of people not reach their goals? Something is happening here. And it's important to consider the role that drugs have in it. And I'm going to specifically say marijuana because I don't really feel that it's morally wrong. But people now they're just, a lot of you guys are just going to have to let go of the idea that it's not holding you back. It is very likely that might be the main thing holding you back, but because you've created a habit and you don't want to give it up, and you're going to have an argument for why you shouldn't have to give it up, that's fine. But if you are struggling to achieve your goals, I encourage you to detox for a while, work out whatever issues you may have, and then see how you're doing in life. See if anything is improving. Simply stopping can change just the way you feel. With marijuana, it takes a while because if you're a heavy smoker, it's going to be in your system at least 30 days after you quit because it lodges itself in fatty tissue and the brain, it's in there. It takes a long time for every last remnant to come out. And the other thing is the marijuana these days, it's like the louder it gets, the more quiet your brain gets. So be careful with these strains out here. I mean, the names are just crazy. I mean, I have seen menus of just names, and the THC and the CBD content is just like so high. And the people are doing it, and I guess they don't really have concerns, or they're not paying attention to their surroundings or their life or the quality of their relationships because they're walking around in a haze. But you can't tell them that they're walking around in a haze. Most people won't own that. But I'm here to tell you, consider detoxing and see if you get any clarity about the path you want to take to achieve your goals. The other compulsions under the things category, games. Okay? People play too many games on so many levels. And that can be sports, video games, gaming apps, chess, gambling. I mean, we're not talking about a hobby. And the other thing is, when you're in business builder mode, you don't really have hobbies. Sorry. I know self-care is important, but that's kind of like a thing. It isn't a thing, really, when you're building businesses. It sounds good, but when you're actually doing what it takes to go hard, a lot of times, you're not taking good care of yourself. And so, no hobbies, and especially overdoing it. If you take a moment to do something that you enjoy, okay, but if you're spending hours and hours each day playing games, when is there going to be time for reading books and researching and getting out, doing the footwork, the legwork that you have to do to build a business? When do you have time for that? I took my kids to a chess club on Saturday. What was that, yesterday? For the first time. And the gentleman that teaches the club, teaches them how to play chess, he asked me if I wanted to learn. And I've been asked this before, and I said, no, not really. I'm not trying to be a poor sport, but I'm not really interested. And he was like, are you sure? And I said, well, to tell you the truth, I kind of play chess in real life every day. So I'm going to go over here while you're working with them and work on some things. So it's like playing chess, like in real life. You're strategizing, you're executing, and you're trying to win. if you're playing games all day long, these phone games, they're so addicting. I mean, it's like, be careful with that. They are designed to be addictive, and they're effective, and a lot of people are caught up in that. So be careful with the games. The other type of game that people play are mind games, and that's definitely a distraction. Um, you can get so caught up in playing games with somebody or with people, for whatever reason. You're it takes mental energy to figure out how you're going to, come up with some kind of situation that's going to get this person to do this and do this. It's very manipulative, and you need that skill in business, but people are playing games in a way. It's not being that manipulation is malicious. It is not strategic in a positive way. So playing games on that level is not good either. Social media, you already know, can be a distraction, and preoccupation with material things. So materialism. A lot of times you might have somebody that's on their way. They may have gotten started with their business, and then they get to a point where they get a little bit of money. That money starts to feel good to them, and they want to immediately go and start spending it. I did this. I did this after just a couple of years of being in business. I bought a Maserati. If I could go back in time, I wouldn't do that again. I would not do that again, because I didn't really need a car of that caliber. And although it boosted my morale and it gave me motivation and made me feel good to ride around in it, it was not the time for that. I had not arrived. That was not the time for that. And so when you're out here and you start spending your money, you run the risk of jeopardizing your business because you may hit hard times, or you could be using that money. Like, if I think about the car note that I paid on that car, and I think about what if I had been paying that into the stock market, or, you know, interest accruing account. You just think about things like that, because I could have just got more of a basic car, like an A to B, and saved a whole lot of money. And maintenance. So material things, be careful with that, because the preoccupation with that will get you off track. So those are the distractions, okay? The other D is damage, and the damage I'm talking about is psychological damage and or physical damage. You can't be in a business mindset if psychologically you're off kilter. You might be making do or managing, but you're definitely not manifesting your full potential if you have mental blocks because of something in your psychology, like childhood abuse or neglect, or just mental illness that may be genetic, or like if you have a traumatic brain injury, like from a car accident or something. It could actually be like something physically that happened to you, or dementia that is getting in the way of you being able to be in the mindset to do business. The psychological stuff, although we talk about generational curses, I feel like those things still can be worked on. It's just harder to change. Once something happens in your childhood, it really shapes your brain, and kind of like how things will play out for you for the rest of your life if you're not making conscious efforts to change those things. It is possible to change it, and that's called neuroplasticity. You can change your brain by doing things differently in your environment, but it's harder. The brain is not as plastic as you get older. So if you're suffering from some type of psychological problem, you have to put in the work to get that stable before you can really go into business, because it's just going to be too difficult, even like especially with the way that you relate to other people. And because you need other people to do business for the most part, you're going to have to be at some point interacting with people. And if you're not psychologically stable, if you have anger issues, or you're emotionally up and down, mood swings, or you're constantly depressed, those are the kind of things that really don't work with people. So, um, that's damage. Damage. The other D. The other D is what I'm calling deficits. And basically, deficits is like the lack of something. And the lack mentality. I'm sure many of you have heard the phrase lack mentality. And that lack, that deficit can be in so many areas. It has implications for your finances, your knowledge, your support system, how powerful you are, how energetic you are. Deficits, not having adequate quantities of these things, you're not going to be in a position to do business. The lack mentality can result from a number of things, but oftentimes it's because of how you were raised, your environment, the things that you've seen in your community, what you've been surrounded by, and it just basically you just you're always in a position where you're lacking. Your needs are not met in some way, shape, or form, and you just can't seem to figure out how to get your needs met. So those are the 3 Ds: distractions, damage, and deficits. These are the things that I think play the biggest role in why 92% of people do not achieve their goals. If only 8% of people are achieving their goals, then that will kind of explain the wealthy elite, because it's such a minority of people who have actually reached a level of success financially. I heard today that the average net worth of the black woman in America, the black woman's net worth was $5 on average. $5. You got a song by Drake where the kids, you hear them, they're reciting the lyrics to the song, and they're like, "What's your net worth?" And I asked my children, "Do you even know what net worth is?" But they're chanting it and maybe don't even know what it is. And $5, I mean, it's really, I think in Boston, for African Americans, the average net worth is $8, I want to say. So there's a lot of work that people have to do to figure out how to get more of that 92% into the 8%. So how do you get in the right mindset for success? We won't be able to cover that tonight in one video. Really, these videos, the series of videos I'm doing, is all about that, because it's a process that you have to actually go through and develop, especially if you were not born a boss with boss qualities. You have to develop them and use them like a muscle for them to get stronger. And so, but if I had to give a simple answer for purposes of tonight's video, I'd say just to get started on that journey, first recognize where you are in your thinking. These are my opinions. These are not necessarily facts. This is my conceptualization of what I've seen in my experience, and this is how I feel is the best way to summarize what I think is getting in the way of people not being successful. And so if you can consider where you are, figure out where you are in your thinking. We all tend to lack self-awareness. All of us. None of us are perfect. And it's easier to see the deficits in other people versus ourselves. So that's part of why we need each other. We're interdependent to be able to grow and be successful. Because if all you were relying on was yourself, you'd be in trouble. Because self-awareness is something that most people don't have, and those that do have it may not have enough of it. All right, so Since none of us are perfect, I know I'm not. Um, we have to accept the fact that imperfect people can impart wisdom. So now I want to just address, for those of you that are watching this, and if you're thinking, if there's anything that you're thinking right now as to how to discredit what I'm saying, how to discredit possibly me, um, there may be people that know me personally and have a hard time receiving a message like this because they know all my stuff. And because people really don't want to change, even if you're delivering an accurate message, if they can find the holes in your situation, now they've given themselves permission to not make any changes because you're not in a good enough position to tell me what to do. I know what, I know your situation, so you can't tell me anything. That's part of why I haven't done this sooner, is because I'm thinking that nobody wants to hear what I have to say. I've been through so much. I continue to deal with struggles and challenges, but I got to a point where I said, you know what, there are going to be some people that can receive this message, and those are my people. Those that can't receive it, try to consider why. See where you are in your thinking. So don't take it from me, okay? Don't take it from me. If you are where you want to be in life, if you wouldn't, I don't think you would be on this channel, or you might just be tuning in just to check me out. But chances are you want to do something different, do something better. You may not be in a pitiful state, but you may want to do some things differently. And so if you are not where you want to be in life, challenge your current belief system and make sure it is in fact your belief system, okay? And so you have to make sure that, remember, the disillusionment, make sure that your belief system really is your belief system. It's not somebody else that has programmed something into you. If you're constantly kind of like, you always kind of have this thing in the back of your mind and just won't go away, it just keeps coming, keeps coming, keeps coming. Listen to that inner voice and try to figure out what is this thing that just won't let me rest. It may be urging you to do something and make certain changes. All right, and determine the areas. You determine your areas for improvement, not me. I'm not here to judge you all, and because I'm not interacting directly, I can't tell you my opinions about what you personally could be doing better. But I'm going to give you just the general things to consider so that you can take those things and figure out on your own where you need to improve. Okay, most of the time you know what your issues are. You might not have the tools or the healthy tools to face those issues. And so I encourage everybody to create a safety net for yourself so that if you do get rid of some of these unhealthy tools that you're using, you will have like something to catch you if you fall. Because when you're working toward self-improvement, it's painful. Because you start to understand things about yourself, your friends, your family, your community, your race, your sex. I mean, you just start thinking, and a lot of times you don't like what you see. And you might like a lot of things, but some of the things that you discover, it can be painful. And you don't want to like go down and take on too much of that. You definitely need to make sure, like, I know African Americans don't generally believe in going to therapy, but maybe like get in therapy and then start to work on yourself so that maybe you have developed a rapport with a trained professional who can help you to work through the changes you're trying to make. Okay? You need a safety net because it can be painful when you're changing. All right? So I'm going to start taking Q&A now. Let me see if I've missed people. Let's see. Okay, I don't think I've missed questions, just people joining. Truth is truth. Yep. Okay. The things you have been through are exactly why you have to keep going. I've been through a lot. There are people who have been through way more than me, but for me, I only know my experience, and I feel like I've been through a lot. And for those of you that may have seen my post last night, late last night, it was a thumbnail image of me from 4 years ago when I did a YouTube video about suffering from depression. And a friend of mine forwarded me that, and when I watched it and I saw it, the thumbnail, before I even clicked on it, and I was like, what is this? I was like, oh, that's me. That was me. I didn't even recognize myself 4 years ago. Didn't recognize myself. I had a similar feeling when I was looking at old emails from about that time period. For I was like doing something where I needed to go back in my emails, and I started reading some things, and I was like, ooh, like it was the thought process, everything. It just didn't. It was somebody that I felt like now I can't even relate to, and that was myself. So basically going through things and evolving, and I still have a ways to go. But when I looked at the two pictures, the one from 4 years ago, I looked 10 years older than what I look today. I mean, I was like dead inside. I looked terrible. I had lost like 90 pounds. I had like bags under my eyes. And if you actually listen to the video, even just the cadence and the tone of my voice, it was like I was a zombie. And that was it was for me to see that. It made me think, okay, she was encouraging me by sending me that. She was encouraging me that you've come a long way. You deserve to use a platform like this to help people. You are credible. You are reputable. You can get on here and help people, despite things that you've been through or maybe going through. It's all called balance. Yep. And so, any comments or discussion for getting your mind right first before you can get to the bag? I see there are definitely several people watching, so I'd love to hear your thoughts on what I've discussed tonight. Let's see, I see comments there. Let me click on that. Who helped you to shift? What helped you to shift? So, that's the thing that's funny. I don't recall the moment. I only recall the time period. And I can think about a few things that were happening around that time that made me think I need to fight for my life. I need to fight for my life right now, because if this is what life is all about, forget it. Like, never mind. That is like, I remember feeling that way every day. And that person I saw in that thumbnail 4 years ago, that is how she was thinking. But got to a point where it was like, I need to fight for my life. And I actually remember actively thinking about things I could do to shift my level of consciousness, my level of happiness, my level of stability and health. I was like, what can I do to better utilize my time and to put myself on a path to change my life, instead of being stuck in the same situation, making excuses why you can't change your situation. I was like, I want to come up with something. And that's when I ended up going to school. I went back to school. I applied to go get my doctorate, basically. And I felt like that really helped, because it required me to get out the house and go do things and not alienate myself, and it really proved helpful. Let's see, do I practice daily meditation? Just recently, actually, I downloaded an app called Simple Habit, and it reminds me to meditate. It's like I set it for a certain time in the early part of the day, and I set it for the evening. And I admit I don't always do it. If I'm in the middle of something, then I'll, kind of just like make the notification go away. but it at least reminds me, even if I don't actually like take the time to set up a really good area conducive to meditating, I will at least try to practice mindfulness. And mindfulness is just like wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you're able to like stop for a moment and just experience things in their fullness. Okay? So like if you're drinking a cold glass of water and holding a glass, I'm able to feel the cold hardness of the glass. I'm able to feel the condensation on the glass. I see the water moving. And it's just a way that you focus on something so much that when you have that level of focus, it kind of puts other things out of your mind. And you have to learn to be able to focus in the present. I learned this skill in my program. So meditation, I definitely recommend that. Sorry I jumped in, so I will have to replay. No, Kim. I'm good. You can definitely go back and look, but you can also ask questions. I don't mind. People know they can come and go as they please. I don't want people to think that I expect them to tune in to me every night for like an hour, 90 minutes. Let's see. Hold on, let me make sure I didn't miss a question because I saw something. Are there any healthcare or mental health resources that you might recommend? There's an app called BetterHelp. BetterHelp, you can download it on your phone or device, and it is a way to do therapy. It's like out of pocket. You don't do insurance, but you can apply for financial aid. You might end up spending like maybe $35 a week, what you would spend on Starbucks coffee. You could end up having a psychologist or a master's level therapist actually do therapy right from your phone. You can do video sessions, you can do chat room, and you can do on the phone. And when you pay that weekly fee, you get to contact your therapist whenever you want. They don't have to respond right away, but you can have like 3 sessions a week if that therapist is in agreement that that's what you need at that stage, until you're more stable or until you're moving in the direction you need. And so you don't pay for each session, you just pay your weekly fee, and you get that level of support, and you don't have to worry about leaving the house or logistics. It's very convenient. So that's BetterHelp. And then, of course, let's see, YouTube has just a wealth of information. So you can look up motivational videos. There are just life coaches by the dozen. I do know that, and actually I'm going to save this for acknowledgments, there are some people that I can recommend that can help you to get on a path to wellness, health and wellness, because that's not really going to be my focus here. More of my talks are going to be about the business of it. But I felt the need to do a topic like this tonight because people should understand that before you're ready to start a business and be successful, you don't want to jump in ill prepared, because then you'll be discouraged and you'll think business isn't for you, when in fact it may be that your timing is off and you're not where you need to be at that time to do it. Let's see, hold on here. I see more comments. Just a second. Yep, mindfulness, focus. Our minds are all over the place. Oh yeah, it can be really stressful. When you're in business, that mindfulness thing. If when the professor taught us this, he used the orange, and we had to like peel an orange in class. And we had to use all of our senses, basically tactile, nose, sense of smell, sight. And it was really interesting. Mindfulness is good because you have to be able to quiet your mind and focus. And when there's a million things to do and distractions, which is what we're talking about today, the mostly distractions about why people, can't accomplish their goals. That mindfulness, being mindful of things, is very important. What are your thoughts on network marketing businesses? All right, well, I'm just going to give you my opinion, and it is not with the intention to look down on anybody that does it, or make people feel like they're not truly entrepreneurs when they do it. But I can't stand MLMs. I can't stand multi-level marketing when it comes to my friends, my family, and people I know that are putting in so much effort to get the people at the top rich. It sounds like a job to me. What I do like about MLMs is if I started one, I think that it's genius. What I don't like is when people, I just had somebody in my inbox last night, and I don't mind. I love her. She's such a kind spirit. Um, she was in my inbox, and she asked me. She said that there was a deadline coming for her to meet some type of quota for her to get like to the next level, and she was asking if I would buy, a certain amount of stuff to get her to the next level. And to be honest, I had to ask her, "What are you selling?" You know what I mean? And she told me like what she was selling, and I was like, okay, I'll have to be honest. I'm getting to a point where I'm going to refuse. I think I'm going to refuse to participate and buy things from people, because anytime you have to go around searching like that to sell somebody else's brand, and you have to like reach out. I mean, if sales is one thing, I understand that, but I just feel like the multi-level marketing and network marketing businesses, I feel like the design has a psychology behind it, and it basically, in my opinion, tricks people into thinking that they're entrepreneurs when they're actually workers, and they're working harder for that business than they're working for they could be putting that same effort into developing their own business, but most people feel comfort in knowing that something has been established, because most people don't want to do the work to boss up. People don't want to boss up. So I think they're predatory, and I think they're aggravating, because you have all these people coming to you try to sell you things that you don't need, you don't want, but you want to be supportive, that kind of thing. Now, I do think that you can actually learn a lot from people, and you can network and meet people that you like. Your involvement in those type of things, if it's short-lived, if it's positioning you to understand what you need to know for whatever it is you're doing. So just think about that, though. Just think about anybody that actually has been doing any MLM. I applaud your effort, and again, I'm not looking down on you, but part of me being here is to tell you some things that you may not have wanted to hear. And remember, I said challenge your belief system and make sure it is in fact your belief system, because the MLMs, they kind of damn near brainwash people into thinking they're loving every minute of it, getting somebody at the top rich. Yet they're still not getting to that next level. They keep making you think there are these levels, and there are these levels, and they'll put these people in front of you, and they use the materialism because they know that people have a preoccupation with material things. And remember, that falls under one of the distractions that keeps you from being in business. MLMs are distractions. It prevents you from devoting time to your own business. The person who actually inboxed me last night, I respectfully explained my position briefly. I said I actually have made a rule for myself that I will not support MLMs unless I know the owner of the MLM. I then told the lady to be careful and to make sure she's not being exploited. And I let her know also that my I already know someone that's close to me that's doing the same type of business, only they own theirs. Theirs is in the MLM. So I told her I can maybe what I can do is I can introduce you to my folks, and maybe y'all can figure out how to partner up, and kind of you be at the top of it and you reap the bulk of the benefits from your labor and your efforts. And she basically said, well, I really like this company, I'm happy there, and no thanks. And that is her prerogative. But I think it's indicative of what is happening out here. You have people that are really committed and devoted to owners and people they will never meet, or they've never actually shook their hand. They would pass up an opportunity to do business with somebody ground level that looks like them. I think it's part of the problem. And like I said, I don't want that person to take it personal that I use that as an example. Now, part of why I feel the way I feel is because I have no evidence to the contrary. But the people that they put in front of people, because they know there's a preoccupation with materialism, if you find yourself in a company that tends to send you places or send you to events that put you in touch with somebody who has flashy things or nice things, like a nice home, a nice car, and just really be well put together, they'll put those things strategically in front of you to make you believe that that could be you one day. And nobody that I know personally has ever become that person. Well, when it comes to the money, I don't think I know anybody who's become that person that can rely solely on that as income, and that it's been sufficient, and it's been everything that they've been promised. If you don't keep a certain level, you're demoted. Yeah. Because you don't want to have to feel like you have to run around and beg people to buy things from you, and they don't even know what you're selling. You just like, I haven't heard from you, and I don't know how long, and you're just telling me that because you need to meet and get to the next level. So when they train you to go to people and do that and say that, it's because the creators of the MLM know the psychology of people. So they know that when you go to your family and your friends and you tell them you're trying to level up, people, if they feel like if they don't help you, that they're holding you back, or that they have prevented you from achieving something. It's trickery. I see through that mess. I don't participate. Hey, Barbara Petty, thank you for tuning in. All right, let's get some questions. Oh, I have quite a few people watching right now. Come on, I know you guys have questions. I guess opinions, discussion, anything you can offer the group. If you put something on here, I usually, so far, I've been reading everything. There are no trolls or anybody doing anything indignant. So if you have questions, let's see. Any recommendations for new real estate agents? Well, I don't have a problem saying when I don't know something or something isn't my lane. Real estate, from a agent standpoint, is not something I'm very familiar with, but I do feel like there are very successful real estate agents that are entrepreneurs, are their own bosses. But be careful also with that. If you're not your own boss, if you're like with a company, then you're kind of, in my opinion, not really an entrepreneur. If you have to share your bread with anybody else other than your partners, you're not an entrepreneur. And as far as whether or not it's a good market right now for real estate agents, that part I'm not sure of. Sorry I couldn't be of more help, Janine. How are you, Janine? It's been a long time. Thanks for tuning in, Chastity. You've been really showing some support. So here's one thing I was going to say. Goal setting. With every success, however small, it builds your self-esteem, your self-efficacy. And self-efficacy is your belief in your ability to get something done. So what I would like everyone to do who views this video, before you go to sleep tonight, I want you to set a goal for yourself and accomplish that goal. However slight. Make a note of it. Make sure it's something that is quantifiable so that you know that you got it done. And make sure that you do it. And once you do it, you've accomplished the goal. And you may not really feel it. You may not really notice it. But it's doing something to your psyche when you succeed. When you tell yourself, I set out to do something and I did it. Mama, hey, my mom on there. She gonna beat me. You don't play with Nancy Griffin. My mother is one of my greatest inspirations with regard to work ethic. She got it done. She figured out how to get it done in my childhood, and for that I'm forever grateful. I saw her times, she was always just looked so nice and beautiful and elegant, but I'm sure the chaos in her mind and in her heart, knowing what I know now as a grown woman, I know that it had to be really hard to do the type of work she was doing and still tend to her children. I know it had to be really hard. My father is a great inspiration because he brings that risk taking and don't ever stop until you just keep going. And I remember my first semester in college, I got all A's and a B, one B. And here I am thinking I'm about to report back to Dad and get my pat on the back. And he was like, why'd you get a B? And I was just like, you don't see all the other A's though? And even if a B that bad? And I think I dropped out for a semester because I was really stressed out over some things. I took a semester off. I went back. I never got another B for my bachelor's. So when you have parents that set examples for you, it's really helpful. Both of my parents were go-getters, and they came from the projects, the same project, and they actually got out together. They went from Louisville, Kentucky to Detroit, Michigan on their own. I think my mother might have been 16 or 17, my dad just a couple years older, and they struggled and everything. I think even faced homelessness before, and they eventually had me and my sister, and then time went by and everything, and my mother made a power move that I don't know that I could do it to this day. But she knew that Detroit, Michigan was going down, and it was not the place for opportunity and not the place for her family. So she left, went to Maryland, came here to Maryland, and got established in a career, and within I don't even remember the time frame, but I guess within maybe a couple of months, several weeks, a couple of months, then she ended up sending for us, and my dad and us all reunited in Maryland, and that's how we got to Maryland, which is one of the most progressive states for African Americans. And that was just the courage to be able to leave your children. Because even back then, imagine, like, even now you have mom guilt issues and people still look at things a certain way. But back then it took incredible courage to make that move. And while at first sight it may have looked like people could have been questioning, how could you just leave your children like that and not see them for a few months? She saved our lives. Okay? 1986, she came to Maryland and made it happen. So that goes back to people in your life that can either be motivators or distractions. But even still, you can have a person in your life that can sometimes hinder and distract you, but at other times they be like your biggest cheerleader. And I think that with family, that's pretty common. You have your ups and downs with family, but overall, they support you. Any other questions, comments? So set a goal. Set a goal. And if you need to, tell somebody what your goal is so that you have an accountability partner. Believe it or not, you all are my accountability partners. By me using this platform to get up on a soapbox and tell people suggest to people what they should do, or you know I have to hold myself to a higher standard. I have to be more cautious about how I'm behaving in my own life so that I won't be a fraud. So now as people start to get a look into my world, literally I'm here like in my bedroom. You guys are in my bedroom with me. It's very intimate. Accountability partners, because I know that if I continue doing this, I don't want the trolls to be able to come in here and say things and do certain things to try to discredit me. So I'm going to be, if you thought I was going hard before, oh, you ain't see nothing. I will wait. You all can remember, once I open up Q&A, it doesn't matter what the topic is, as long as it's within the realm of business. You can ask any question. No problem. No problem. I want to share the information, and I know it may not be what people want to hear, and it may, you may get a little feeling inside when you hear somebody say something, but usually if something upsets you a bit, think more about it and really examine why it's having that effect. Most people are surrounded by yes men, and that's part of the distractions of people that they bring. They can cause confusion because a lot of people don't like to speak their truth with the people that are in their lives because they want to be liked. I have grown pretty, I won't say comfortable with, but I am prepared for the role of bad cop because I have been playing it for years in business, family. I'm that person who will tell you quickly what you don't want to hear. Let's support one another more. So if there are no more comments, we've been going for about an hour and 10 minutes. I'm happy to stay and answer questions, but if there are no more, I know it's Sunday night and people need to prepare. Some people need to prepare for work. Imagine, for those of you all that are starting to, your routine or whatever you do when it's Sunday night because you know you're about to go back to the rat race. Imagine a life where Sunday doesn't even feel like Sunday anymore because there is no Monday morning rush. There is no back to work. You can actually go out on a date or hang out after you've gotten established in business. Every night is like Friday night. Of course, if you have children, they have to get to school and that kind of thing. You have to be a little more cautious, but you can travel. If you make that a priority, you can travel. That's not something that I do a lot of because I feel like I'm not quite where I need to be to do a lot of traveling. I still have, I don't know, every time I like think about booking something, I just have second thoughts about it for a number of reasons. And so, but when you're in a position to come and go as you please, those are the times that make you think that your hard work and sacrifices are worth it. So I can stay up tonight because I'll just be here. I'm not preparing for work tomorrow. You need to boss up. Be your own boss. Set your own hours. Be able to pick your kids up from school or the bus stop. Skip childcare altogether. Childcare is getting crazy. I mean, things are just crazy things happening in childcare. Even when people have cameras. I don't know if you all saw the woman that flung the girl across the room and the girl split her head open and had to get stitches, and the little girl was just minding her business. She wasn't even misbehaving, and the teacher just went to her and just, no, my children have never been in a stranger's daycare. The closest they've come to that is being like in martial arts or something like that. But childcare, I started my own, and before that there was my dad's, and before that I just relied on the father and a few people to handle that when I was in school and working. Derek, you're trying? What are you trying? What you trying to do? I like Derek. Number one, I need to get your information because when you went on YouTube, I saw your name indicated that maybe you own a landscaping company, and if I'm not mistaken, I think you're the one that asked me the question about who does landscaping, and I was saying it's kind of like not getting done, and then the people that do it for my house, I don't even know who they are. I couldn't even tell you. So Derek, inbox me your information for your landscaping company, and I do appreciate you because I've seen you consistently tune in, whereas most of the other people who have been tuning in have been women. And I wonder what's up with that because it might just be that some men are just not interested in making that money. Maybe they're already making it. Or maybe they can't receive these things from a woman. Because there's no reason there shouldn't be more men in this group. The information is the same. It works practically the same way for both sexes. The information that I'm giving, I'm not trying to like just appeal to women or black people or, it's really, but it just seems to be going in a certain direction, and it makes me wonder why. And there are a lot of people complaining about men needing to step up. Where are you guys? Perhaps it's just me. You feel like I'm not the one to get that information from. But I challenge you to think about why you're not tuning in. That is one of the main things, is to have your parents to support you, or very, very close friends. Yeah, support system is very important, especially if you choose certain type of businesses. That's not to say that someone who has no one can't make something happen, but I would say that the field you go into, or whatever it is you're pursuing, it would have to be one of those things where it doesn't require like a whole lot of people, a whole lot of moving parts. With the businesses I'm in, there are a lot of moving parts. A lot of moving parts. So you need people. You like hearing business talk? Well, tell your friends. I mean, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but can you share with me, is there something I'm missing? Is there like a guide code that I'm missing? Do you deal with other men and know their frame of mind, or like, are they doing well? Are they, what's happening? Why would you think that more men are not tuning in to my talks? And I'm sorry if that puts you on the spot. I know I don't want you to feel like you have to answer and then guys come back and read it and they're like, hey man, who do you think you are? But where are the men? We were getting ready for my daughter's um, birthday party a few weeks back. She woke up over my sister's house, and my mother and stepdad happened to be there, you know, to help prepare for the party, baking cakes and stuff like that. And when my daughter woke up, the first thing she said, I guess, because she was excited, she knew it was her day. She was like, "What are the men going to be doing? What are the men going to do?" And I was just like, "Okay, I know where some of that comes from, but it's also she's just like she's a boss baby. She's one of those people that was born a boss." She's like, "What are the men going to do?" Almost like I know they're not going to sit around because I see everybody else busy. But I think she hears me talk that way, like in reference, because she has a brother that's a little older than her, and I'm trying to not really teach stereotypes, but I'm trying to make sure he knows your little sister shouldn't be working harder than you. You shouldn't be letting her do these things for you. You need to do these things for yourself, and if anything, do these things for her and for me. Do you think that, hold on, let's see, I missed the question. Do you think that it's easy to open shelters for the homeless? I'm gonna tell you something that has broke my heart. All the industries that are the ones that are most important, education, childcare, assisted living, like places that take care of people, homeless shelters, they are so highly regulated that it is a turnoff for people, because there are so few resources that you're given to work with, yet you're expected to follow a million rules, more than half of which don't make sense or serve the purpose that people think they're going to serve. The people who come up with the regulations, they're not, they typically have not been an owner of that type of business before, and they're making rules up that don't make any sense. So a homeless shelter, also, your zoning and your use and occupancy permit process is going to be more stringent, because you're having groups of people congregating and sleeping overnight in an establishment. That is one of the most stringent use groups you can have. And so to even get started and to get open and to get approved, I can only imagine. I haven't tried myself, but I just know. I know. However, it needs to be done. People need, we need teachers, we need child care centers, we need assisted living places, we need homeless shelters. But I'll be honest, from a business model and a business standpoint, they're not the greatest businesses to be in. I mean, I think they're good transition businesses, like to get your start. But you have to really, you can't be a venture capitalist or somebody who wants to expand. It's not easy to expand those type of businesses. The quality goes down. The bigger you get and you can't put your hands on things, people may not have the same passion that you had when you started. That happened to me in all of my businesses. That is one of the main, let me make sure I didn't miss a question. I think I went back, let's see. Sorry, my computer's moving a little slow. I'm trying to scroll down because I see more questions. It's moving super slow. Come on now. Okay, let's see. Derek said, my friends aren't into business. Men might think it might be a waste of time. Plus, they might be like they want to do it on their own. Yeah. But doing it on your own, is that really even a thing? Because what does doing it on your own really mean? That means you don't consult anybody, you don't ask people questions, you don't have mentors, you don't have investors, you don't have, what does doing it on your own really even mean? I know exactly what you mean, but I'm posing the question for viewers that may not really, more men are not on this channel because they may want to feel like they figured it out on their own. I absolutely agree that that's probably one of the reasons. But again, that is one of the that's one of the 3Ds as to why people don't accomplish their goals. That issue, I want to say, falls under the psychological damage category, because that way of thinking is more about ego and not about effectiveness and efficiency. What gets the job done? What is the easiest path to get the job done? Who is the most informed person that you have access to that can help you or give you ideas? Do you think it is more easy to open homeless shelters or daycare center? I would say daycare, because homeless shelters, let me make sure that's my answer. For me, because I classify myself as an empath, it would be harder to run a homeless shelter, because it was already hard enough for me to encounter a lot of people that were struggling just day to day with, like, they might not have been homeless, but they're struggling, so they need discounted child care, or you have elderly people that only have $1,200 a month and they need total care. So it like hurts my heart. But so I think running a homeless shelter would be very, I think you would be subject to burnout quicker than with childcare. At least with childcare, you do have so many moments of joy when you have a good set of staff and they're doing things and you can see their little smiling faces, and you do sometimes have your satisfied customers that appreciate you. With the homeless shelter, I imagine that that's just heavy, heavy. And you are relying on all donations. in grants, and that's a whole different thing. Which you just gave me an idea. I need to do a video about grant writing because my sister and I and my mother, we were successful in teaming up to get awarded. I think it was about in total, I think it ended up being about $250,000. And the proposal itself, I think maybe was about 100 pages. It's very tedious trying to convince people to give you money, and plus there's so much exploitation. Yeah, pig-headed, stubborn. I'm telling you, women can